My name is Jeremiah Cobra.
Hmm.
I am an author and educator from Hartford, Connecticut, and I really like coffee
Yes.
and whiskey and vinyl records, flowers.
Hmm.
Stargazer lilies are fantastic. And jacarandas. I can see the jacarandas here.
And you're an author.
And
You
I'm an
lived in
author.
Japan for seven
I lived
years.
in Japan. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can go in so many
Yeah.
different. So I lived in Japan. I speak Japanese a bit, or something like that. I went on so many side quests in Japan too. So like even just saying I lived in Japan, like I taught out there. I did graduate school. Like I did all of my graduate school research out there. I played basketball for a few years.
Hmm.
Not a lot of people know that. Like semi-professional basketball. Like I got paid to play basketball. I joined a jazz band randomly.
Oh, I didn't know
See, it's something like this.
that.
Nobody knows what I did in Japan. There's so many side chapters. The jazz band thing was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it happened because of my brazen attempt to meet a girl. This is his own story. I won't go into that.
And then you've written several books.
I've written a few books. I am the also my most recent book is a book called In His Own Image. It is historical fiction about an artist who is trying to hide his identity as a fugitive slave or as a runaway or escaped slave. But the problem is that he's really good at his art, and basically his fame is bringing the wrong attention. And so every time he produces a great work of art, he risks people looking a little more into who he actually is and finding out that not just that he's a fugitive slave, but that they're actually bounty hunters looking for him and tracking him through his art. And then prior to that, I wrote a nonfiction piece called After Botham, which is it's about the Botham Jean shooting, the Dallas shooting. Botham Jean was a young man who had a police officer enter his home, allegedly thinking it was her home, thought he was robbing the place and shot him. She's currently serving her sentence, but the story is mostly about his sister's perspective. So his sister is Elisa Charles Finley, and it's about her grief and her processing that and everything that the media really put her through in the aftermath of that. And yeah, so those are the two most recent pieces.
And where can people find you?
JeremiahCobra.com. It's Jeremiah Cobra. My last name is Cobra.
Yeah.
It's like it's my government name. Just use that. I haven't had to spell my website since I changed to that. Which is actually kind of weird because most people can't spell Jeremiah. Like if you go to like Starbucks and it's like, what's your name? Is Jeremiah. I just tell them J because they always add too many I's to Jeremiah. It's like, y'all didn't go to church.
Or E's.
No, it's always I's. It's Jerimi. Like they just add, yeah.
Oh, they're adding too many I's.
That's what I'm saying. They're
I's.
adding too many I's.
Oh,
yeah, they don't.
wow.
Yeah.
Or
It's like it's like Jari. They never get the correct amount of E's in Jeremiah. That's also most of my social media handles is usually like Jeremiah.Cobra.
How did we meet?
We met at Howard University. I think in general it intrigued me that there was a white girl going to Howard University. So yeah, I met you in a computer lab at Howard University. We were supposed to be studying for midterms.
Yep.
And you wouldn't leave me alone. I'm sorry, is that
true?
Yeah, I was trying to like study and I was like, yeah, I don't know. You know, you're an interesting person, but I'm gonna go this way now. And then you just follow me. You will follow me around. And I thought your major was interesting. American Studies and Criminal Justice, right?
Afro-American.
I'm sorry, what did I say? American Studies? So you studied African American Studies and Criminal Justice, which is black people in jail. And I thought that was ironic somehow. And yeah, I thought that was funny. So the white girl here, she's studying us. She majored in us and prison.
That's not quite how it played out.
No, it's not. But that's how I saw it. Like when I met her, it was like, she's here studying us. She's getting a degree in us. What will you do with this information, and where does the jail part come into play? Like, why we go to jail somewhere? I don't know. Like, where were you going? I thought that was, yeah. So that was like
it was like sociology. It was like poli-sci.
What, criminal justice was like poli-sci?
They sold criminal justice or administration of justice. That was my the other major was administration of justice. They sold it kind of similarly to poli-sci and pre-law combined. And I wanted to, when I was younger, be an attorney.
Sure. It's all reasonable.
So that's actually I was just like I studied the two things that I loved.
Sure.
Because when you're a kid, they're like
people in law.
I thought there was something that you said to me when we first met.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we met my first year at Howard, like midterms. So it was like I met you very early on because I knew you like my whole time at Howard. Okay. But I thought I remember you asking me if I was the white woman in that. With
was it the white girl on the train?
Yes.
Yeah, that's either it's Jean Toomer or who's the author?
Amiri Baraka.
Amiri Baraka.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yes, and when you asked me, I knew what you were getting at. Yeah. I was so hurt. Yeah, maybe that's why I followed you. Like, look.
You know what's funny is I don't quite remember the story, but that's because you kept following me. I'm like, what's happening? Am I about to become a victim?
She kills the dude on the train.
Have you ever? There's a comedian.
I read the book. I actually think I had to read the book at Howard.
Yeah, and I just read that too. It's a short story. It's a collection of his voices. It's a short story, and because you seemed adamant about not leaving me alone. I was just like, what's happening here? Where is this going? There's a comedian who has a joke about as a black man encountering a white woman at night in New York. Uh-huh. And it's scary to him. So he tried to go to the other side. It's like he's walking down the street. He's like, a white woman. I should cross the street. And then he goes back over there. He's got his music playing to him. He's like, listening to his music. He's like, another white woman. So now I'm walking in the middle of the street.
I've seen this.
And that just looks creepier. It's like, which one of these white women do I like that? Yeah. I wish I could remember his name because it's such a funny bit and he's such a good comedian. I think he should have more attention brought to him. So yeah, you weren't, but that was my first thought. So what are the odds I'm going to run into a white woman at Howard University in DC? 99% black, and Howard University is the blackest part of DC. There's a white woman in here where I'm trying to do my studies. She catches me in a computer lab and then she won't leave me alone. Where's this going?
You haven't gotten rid of me since.
I'm like that.
I stalked you for years.
Here you are.
20 some years later. So what is the greatest act of love that you've ever experienced? And how did it cause you to love differently or more deeply?
At some point when I was 16, I ran away from foster care. So I grew up, I was in foster care from the time that I was 9 until I became an adult. But at around 16, I ran away and found myself in Massachusetts. And then I kind of ended up entering their foster care system because the emancipation laws are different. In Connecticut, you can be 16, but in Massachusetts, you have to be 17. And so that's its own story. But at some point, I ended up in their system, and I didn't want to be there, and I really wasn't supposed to be there. But I also wouldn't cooperate with anyone. I didn't want anyone to really know who I was. In many ways, I felt like that would, have me return to the Connecticut foster care system, which I did not want. And also, in many ways, kind of get my mom in trouble, which is also something like that's part of its own story. But anyways, I ended up kind of trapped in Massachusetts, in their foster care system, almost as like an unknown person. I guess by the time they started figuring out who I was, the real question was, well, who's going to come up here and get this kid because he can't be up here? And the person that I don't even know how they got in touch with this man. His name is Tony Beckman. He is, at the time, he was my best friend's father. And I remember they got him on the phone. I'm pretty sure, I have no idea how they got a hold of this man. or how he got a hold of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then I spoke to him on the phone, and he just assured me that he was coming to get me. That we like we're going to bring you home. Like those were like the words. And as I'm gonna try not to tear up right now because he's actually having a difficult time health wise right now, and that's something that like I will always remember that moment. And I think what was important to me in that moment is, especially at 16, and especially going through everything I was going through, is it was really easy for me to start reaching the conclusion that the adults around me were failing me, and there was no reason to believe in the. I don't know if efficacious feels like too specific a term, or like too scientific. But it's like there was no reason for me to feel like I could rely on adults. And he was someone that kind of saved that notion for me. I feel like it's a tragic thing when a child or a teenager reaches a point where they feel like the adults can't be relied on.
Yeah.
So as far as how did that impact me to love more, I don't know how conscientious I was at all of that kind of a thing. And I think I can only really speak to it in retrospect. What I will say, though, is that in a sense, you could say it restored my faith in the adults around me. Or if no one else, that man and his wife, obvious as well, Anita Beckman, they both played a huge role in kind of helping me not get to too dark a place at 16. I missed Tony Beckman stands out the most to me because that's the voice I heard. That's the phone call that I took in that moment.
Yeah.
But they both played a tremendous role, and then they took me in like their son and saw me through all the way to college. And but I think again, it not it, at the time I wouldn't say it inspired me to love, but what it kept me from doing is not falling out of love as such.
Yeah.
And that was a tremendous turning point in my life.
What was your biggest fail or learning experience from love, and what did you learn from it?
I think like I'm not married right now, so in many ways you say every relationship that I've been in up to this point has failed. Generally speaking, the goal is to find the love of your life and maintain that. And so I've broken up with all the girlfriends, and I'm currently single. And I think it's not so much what I've learned that's made me, I don't know if it's a term would be better at it or that I could carry into. It's more or less how I've learned not to react. I think anytime a relationship doesn't go well, and depending on how often that happens, it can become really difficult not to become jaded.
Mm-hmm.
And or reach the point where you just give up on this kind of thing, like this is never going to happen for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's always been important to me in any of the breakups that I've had is not to carry any of not to carry the fact that that didn't work with me. It's, in many ways, it's kind of very similar to what I just talked about with the Beckmans keeping me from, I guess, as a teenager, giving up on the adults in life. I think preserving an ideal is important, especially when things don't go well. And I think it's human nature to want to abandon the ideal if it hurt too much seeking it and not achieving it.
Yeah.
And again, the more it happens, the harder it is not to conceptualize that as an absolute. This can't work because I've never seen it work.
Yeah.
Or all men are awful, all women are awful because everyone that I've had relationships with and it didn't go well or something like that. So to not reach a sweeping generalization about the thing that you want in a negative way is something that is, I guess, in one sense, you could say it's something I've learned. I wouldn't say that it's something I've learned on the way out of the relationships that I've been in. It's something that I always make sure I remind myself at the end of a relationship or at a breakup is not to, and I think it's also when I do have a breakup, when I have broken up with, my girlfriend or whatever, I always take a moment to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
You want to reflect on why it didn't go well, and ideally for me, I want to see. I spend what I hope at least is a good amount of time evaluating what I could or couldn't have, or could or couldn't do to make that work, or what I should do the next time, I suppose, or whether I'd done enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes ending relationship, for me anyways, the hardest part is wondering if I did enough
mm-hmm.
to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the way out of that, just making sure that I don't say, well, this is, it's obvious now. I'm 42 and I'm not married yet. This can't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, I can keep looking until I die. Cool with that. I think the tragedy would be to stop looking just because it didn't work in the past.
What is the most meaningful way that you've ever shown love, and what do you think others can learn from it?
I struggled when I read that. The thing about it that I struggled with completely was, what can others learn from it? So I don't know what people can learn. Like it's too much. Like, you could learn from what I just went through. Take this down.
But I mean, if somebody has shown love to someone in a really, like, people can learn from it. That's that's honestly what I'm trying to create here, right? Is that all of these are things that people can learn from.
Okay. Again, most meaningful way that I've shown love is, that's, to put a superlative on that's a lot.
Because one of the most meaningful ways
for me. Well, and again, because it depends on who it's meaningful to, and then if I make it meaningful to myself, it's like that's a little presumptuous. But but for me, the most important way in which I think I've shown love to my family, and this is my biological family, is to always be available, regardless of what kinds of arguments or fights we get into. I always want them to know you can always get me on the phone. Mm-hmm. And it's especially important in my family because of all that we've gone through. We're a family, the siblings, there's 6 of us. Mm-hmm. And we really, like, in some senses, some of us grew up with each other more than others. But like, I didn't know my only biological brother until I was 21 or 22. And then I think just in general, the reason for which we were put into foster care has made, like, the memories, the pain that's there has made it difficult for us. I think we love each other. We've always respected each other, but I don't know if we've all processed the trauma in the same way or processed it at all and really gone through it. And so even when I talk to one of my siblings about an argument she had with another sibling, or even when just one of my siblings is upset with me. Well, okay, so when one of my siblings when one of my sisters, for example, is upset with another sister, and I'm talking to them, I try to remind them where the lashing out came from. I think sometimes in my particular family, we tend, and I think this is actually true of a lot of families, that when there's trauma there that hasn't been worked through, we can lash out at each other for whatever reason, whether we're digging in the past to bring something up to be upset about, or just something happens in the very moment. But what I've noticed anyways is that's often what is said in that lashing out is an attempt to get you a confirmation of something. It's like, like getting, like, one sister getting mad at another sister for never hanging out with it. It comes out as anger. You don't talk to me on the phone. What's your problem, kind of thing. But what she's genuinely asking for there is more connection. Yeah. She's not doing it well, but that is what she's asking for. And so when I've talked to some of my sisters about that, I just try to remind them that that's actually what is being asked for. Doesn't, I know it doesn't excuse it, and it didn't make you any less happy. I mean, it doesn't make you any less angry, and whatever else she said in that exchange is probably still hurtful. But this is where it's coming from, wildly enough. And so for that reason alone, like even like I said, I have when arguments have occurred between my siblings and I, at the end of any of those conversations, I always want them to know, well, when you want to talk to me, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'll pick up the phone. Generally speaking, I'm not going to necessarily take all of your BS. If you just want to call me out and cuss me out, I'm probably just going to hang up. But when you calm down, call me back. I'm not going to ghost you for whatever amount of time. And I think what people can learn from that, I guess, or what's important to learn about that is just being accessible, or especially making yourself accessible to the possibility of the good happening.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also a bit of making yourself accessible to helping those that you love and you have that history with. It's like there's nobody who's going to understand the triggers of family trauma the way that you will. And so I think sometimes it's helping those people in as much as things are respectful.
Especially that.
Yes. Yeah. In as much as things are respectful, helping people process through that and maybe helping them see the thing that in that moment when they can't see the forest from the trees in their hurt, anger, frustration, whatever,
right,
helping them process through that and maybe get out better on the other side. Right. So totally agree. In what ways can you commit to growing in your ability to love others more?
I think I'm pretty committed as such. I can probably always find smaller examples here and there. And I think, again, this may touch on an answer that I've given already, which is, when I talked about maybe romantic relationships, if the relationship doesn't end well, you still have to make sure you come out of that not believing that love is a myth or love can't happen. And like I said, so I think essentially it's a commitment to the idea that I want to say something. I don't want to say that there's good in all people. There probably is. But some people commit enough atrocious, heinous acts that it doesn't really matter if they had this good thing. The bad was bad enough, and you should really deal with the consequences of that. So I don't know if it's necessarily putting it like that, but for me, it's very important to be committed to the reality that people are who they are. And I always want to give people the space to be who they are. I think several years ago, I very much came to the realization and the conclusion that everyone has their own context. And it's really important to think of this when it comes to people's larger abstract beliefs, their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, their philosophical beliefs. Everyone got there by however they got there, and you have to respect that. So I think when I was in my 20s, I think I was very much in this mode of I need to change people's opinions because they don't have the right opinions kind of thing. Or not even that. It's more like why don't they believe? Why is it so hard for everybody to believe the same thing, or why don't they see it the way? Like I can't take this a belief that I have, or a philosophical premise, or even a political ideal that I have, and make someone else think that. And also, it's tremendously unfair to think that because they believe the thing that I don't believe, they're stupid or they're evil, or they came by that conclusion by evil, stupid means or something like that. People believe what they believe, and there's a tremendous life journey that brought them there, whether you agree with it or not. And I think when I realized that, or like when I guess kind of accepted that, so to speak, it made conversing with anybody much easier. So I guess it's having the patience to accept that people are who they are, and you have to give them just the space to be that. And I think if I don't know if it's really easy, if I can in few words explain how that's an act of love, but I recently met an author named James McBride. Someone asked him the question of what the most important thing he could think of, do to, like, what's the most important to him in terms of how he's able to create the characters that he creates. And it's something that I think was true for me subconsciously, but since he said it aloud, it's very much an explicit thing to me as a writer, but also as a person. But for him, the way he's able to create so many different kinds of people in his work is that he genuinely likes people. And how, whether or not you can, how many levels that is from love is probably another discussion, but just the liking of people. All of his characters, regardless of what they believe, are likable, lovable characters because he does not add to their whatever their politics are, whatever their religion is, as some kind of judgment. He creates these characters in a way of saying, this is who this person is.
Very
and this is the good he's trying to bring into the world with who he is. And that's all he's really trying to do. And I think that's really important. I think the advice he gave, if you want to be a writer, you have to like people. He said, I don't think I could write any of these characters if I didn't like people. And so there's a principle there that I think I'm reaching for here, and it's that you have to have an appreciation for the person sitting across from you and who they are, and and how they got there. And in many ways, I almost feel like we've lost that over the past, I want to say 10, 15 years, especially in the political sense, that the person sitting across from me doesn't agree with me, therefore he's antagonizing me in some way. And it's a complete disregard for what that person thinks, and an appreciation and love for how they got there. We all assume that everyone's the antagonist in our story.
Is it that you're committing to be more, I don't know, vigilant is a great word, about like really allowing people to be who they are and accepting them for who they are and where they are?
Yeah, in a sense, I'm committed to letting people be who they are. Specifically, I want to say, like, in my space. Like, if when I'm talking to people and they have a lot of things they want to tell me about abortion, I just let them talk, and hear what they're saying, and give them, let them know that I'm listening. Every topic someone brings up isn't a chance to argue with them and bring them to your side. And I think using it as a chance to just understand them more is important. But also just giving them, I think more people just want to be, I don't know if that's, I want to say that more people want to be heard. Very few people want to have a debate with you. So there's that as well. But there's so much you can learn about a person if you just listen to what their opinion is. And if you listen long enough, they'll tell you how they got there. And there's so much to appreciate about an individual when you hear their story and how they got to where they are. Yeah, and that there's something to appreciate in that, all on its own, not necessarily in contrast to what I think about it or what other people think about it, or even how it might affect their lives, or the country, or whatever. So my conversations with most of the people I talk to now are much more understanding, in a sense. I find it, and I want to continue to find it much easier to converse with people and they feel like they were heard, not that they feel like I had something to necessarily say about it, or especially that I had something negative to say about it. I just want them to feel heard if they're talking to me. And there's so much that I can learn from them, regardless of whether I agree with them or not.
Yeah, no, that's actually I agree, a very kind of a lost art in terms of just listening to understand. Full stop.
Right.
And I think that really grows our empathy as fellow human beings, just to really listen to understand, and not listen to argue or convince or change somebody's beliefs. So absolutely.
I do think that comes with time, though. Like that's a maturity thing. I mean, some people can do it at a young, but I think I've been finding it much easier as time goes on to just stop and listen to people.
I think that it's interesting. I agree. I think that has to be an intentional decision, because I think if it's not intentional, and if your intent is not to let me be more intentional to understand and just connect and really hear somebody's perspective, it becomes very easy to get further and further away, and let those differences divide us, instead of just trying to understand and go, you know what, I may not agree, but I understand how you got there, and I respect you as a person, because there is actually a valid reason from your perspective of why you believe this, how you got there, etc.
Right. So, I agree with that.
Yeah, so. I agree with that. All right. Last question.
That's how excited you are about your questions.
I am starting a global love movement. That's my passion in life. Will you join me?
Oh, of course.
Yay!
I don't know if he got it.
Damn it! The camera.
No, absolutely. I'm already there.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I'm already on it.
I know.
Yeah,
Let me ask you
just
this.
call me to the side when you need me.
Yay! Yeah. I think of it as like just people who are committed to, at the end of the day, just being better human beings. So always challenging themselves to love more, to be more understanding, to be more empathetic, to be more kind people. The part that I really, really, more than anything, hope that I can challenge myself and everyone who is interested is that it's not just loving the people that you like, but challenging yourself to say, okay, how can I be a more loving, kind human being, which includes loving the people that at face value I may not necessarily like or be interested in. Let me ask you, what does that mean to you?
A global love, what does the global love movement mean, or is this what it means to have a love movement? I think, and we talked about this earlier in the weekend, and it's probably the thought that the idea that I've given the most thought to is I think anything that promotes life and the living of life is an act of love. So I think living the life that you want to live and living it intentionally is an act of love. And if you can be around people and they can be inspired by how you're living your life, you're spreading that as far as the permutations of that can be spread from me to one person, from that person to the next person, or whatever. And then that's probably the bigger answer. But as an artist and as an author, I think the act of wanting to create art, to the extent that you're not creating it to thumb your nose at humanity, I think it is an act of love. The creation of what humans do to create, to the extent of creation as opposed to destruction, is always an act of love. I think, interestingly enough, you'd be surprised at how many people are already in the position to join your movement, just from the standpoint of they are creators and not destroyers.
That's it. I love that perspective, because I haven't thought of it that way. So I'm glad I asked you.
Basically, I was at a bar. It's a quick story. I was at a bar, and there was a jazz band performing there, and the female vocalist, I thought she was very pretty, and then they all went upstairs after their performance. They went upstairs to what is, I guess, supposed to be the VIP section, not a VIP, but it was for the band. They were supposed to be up there. The guy who ran the bar, he was a friend of mine, so in many ways I just felt like I could go wherever I wanted. So I just went upstairs and just started talking to him like I belonged up there. Mostly I just was trying to figure out how to get into a conversation that would steer me towards talking to this girl. And that turned into, yeah, I could sing a little bit. And then I ended up doing like this impromptu audition where I did a little bit of singing, a little bit of rapping. There was some beatboxing in there. And then I joined the band after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was that's like the short end.
Yeah, I did not know this.
Yeah, nobody knows this person. Well, that's not nobody. My best friend from Japan knows this. Well, yeah, I've told him. He wasn't there at the time, but yeah. Not a lot of people know that. No. I guess if everything had worked in the ideal way and I'd married this girl, that would be the How I Met Your Mother story.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a way cooler one than what potentially could happen is just like, yeah, I was on an app. Yeah. I accidentally swiped right and here we are. Yeah. It's a way cooler story. Yeah. You know, the funniest part about that website, I had so many other website names that were so much more difficult to remember. That's what I was trying to be cool. I think the first website was Book of Adriel. Adriel's my middle name. And Book of Jeremiah seemed too much on the nose. Because, you know, so I was like, Book of Adriel. That's a cool, I can use my middle name. But no one knew how to spell Adriel. Yeah. So then I would just have to spell out Adriel. And then for some reason I wanted to go with Obsidian Ink, which is the name of my small publishing company that I use to put out other things. And so it was obsidianink.com, but then I had to spell Obsidian Ink. And I was like, Jeremiah Cobra. Like, why would I just not go with that? Did you ever meet the white guy with the Jamaican accent? Oh, no, the Jamaican accent. It was a white guy from Jamaica. It may have been Haiti. I'm pretty sure it was Jamaica. He's just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, but he had a strong Jamaican accent. You two are the only white people that I encountered. How do I not know? Yeah, he was in one of my African American studies classes, and he knew more about all of it than all the rest of it. Like all of us black people, they would ask him dates when slavery began. He was just right on point. The rest of us was like, how does he know all this stuff? We didn't learn any of this stuff before we got here.